But nobody, we've said this before, he said nobody makes the perfect ball for every golfer. And then we see new Titleist Pro V1, Pro V1X. Hey, what is up, everybody? How you living? NoPuttsGiven. Had a week off. We're back. That wasn't me just sleeping for a whole week. I didn't Rip Van Winkle it, but it's not the worst idea in the world, Tony. Did you get to play your favorite course in your
I
local
didn't. I
area?
didn't get over to Glens Falls. I did not. It's my own fault. Like I just, other opportunities came up to play with friends and family at McGregor, so I did that
Yeah,
instead. So
the mighty McGregor, one of
there's
my
still some.
favorites.
There's still some season left, is what I
Yeah,
tell myself, despite the fact that it's 45 and raining.
it could turn any day. And
That's right.
I have a couple questions for you, given that we're getting to that time. But before we jump into it, there's some new gear to discuss. I have a couple questions there. But Matt McCarty, we're going to start with this because there is a PG Tour
Who?
fall season.
Who?
This
A what?
a fall season, the netherworld, the purgatory of the PJ Tour, where guys, a number of guys are playing for status to know what they're doing next year. If you're into, I know Monday Q, our man on the web, is way into these stories and people. I love them because they are, yeah, literally life changing opportunities. Or like I said, guys bouncing back and forth, trying to get into the top 125 to have a fully exempt status for next year. People that are already in that, let's say like that top 50, right? I mean, their year's basically pretty much planned and set. But man, there's also a new course, Black Desert Resort in Ivins, Utah, kind of by St. George. Last design of the late great Tom Weiskopf, which was cool. Definitely a different looking course than what we're used to seeing. But oh my word, write this name down. Get out your pen, Tony.
It's the only
Matt
way you're gonna remember it,
McCarty.
probably.
Matt McCarty, again, he's on an absolute heater on the Corn Ferry Tour. Won 3 times, got the Battlefield promotion, which happens, right? Corn Ferry Tour. You win 3 times, you go to the Big Boy Tour. What would you do? I mean, if you won 3 times Corn Ferry, got to go to play the PJ Tour, what would you do in your second start on the PJ Tour?
Well, I think you win, right?
Yeah, I
That's
think you
like
do.
you're the first one. You're just getting warmed up, getting your feel,
Yeah.
getting your legs under you, and then you go out to win the second time. Like that's
Yeah.
why wouldn't
I
you?
mean, guy's on
Just
an
it,
absolute heater, which is cool. Not surprising, though. He's a ping staffer, so you're going to see a lot of ping stuff through his bag. The two things I thought that were interesting. Number one, he has a 410 Series 3 wood, which fits our category of, hey, fairway woods, hybrids, I mean, they're really tough to fit. You find one that works and does exactly what you want, maybe you want to hold on to that because now we're 430. If the calendar is correct, will be some number higher than 430 in a year or beginning of next season.
probably not going to be 431.
They tend to move in increments of at least 10. We had 410, then 430.
We
Then
we skipped
420.
420. Yeah,
That huge marketing loss
especially
opportunity.
because
Although,
they could have just gone right across the street and solved the problem. So
well, this is
that's insider Phoenix knowledge right there.
true. If you're driving down the street, and what direction would that be? Maybe headed west, and you turn
Uh,
right into Ping parking lot. If you turn left instead of right, you will not end up in the Ping parking lot. You will end up someplace else that is decidedly unping, non-ping ish. Anyway, you look in his bag. 3 were there, but here's what jumped out to me. We always wonder who these people are. He is a non-paid staffer, so not paid to play this, but he played TaylorMade TP5 golf ball. What do you make of that, Tony?
it's always interesting because it's not unheard of, but it's certainly rare that guys don't have a ball deal. But if you're a ping staffer, and you Ping's not going to try and force you into golf ball. You're going to have more, shall we say, creative freedom in the golf ball category than a
Sure.
lot of guys. So yeah, I mean it's interesting. We know TP5 from a construction standpoint is unique, has the potential to be a very good ball. We've seen over the years some really good stuff from TP5, some less than great stuff with some models, but it's maybe the most intriguing golf ball on the market right now, just because again that fifth layer that nobody else has right now.
Hmm. It's yeah, it's the nuance of the ball stuff, and then we see new titles Pro V1, Pro V1X. But what it kind of makes me think about a little bit too is like even with so let's talk about that. We you wrote the article, we posted it on Monday, and you said, and so it begins. Like if you're familiar with calendars and how they work, everybody and their mom's expecting new Pro V1, Pro V1X, odd number year. It's there. Obviously, you also have that. You have the 25th anniversary of the very first Pro V1 that launched that Billy Andre won with back in Las Vegas in whatever that was, 1999 or 2000 Inverness Classic that was at TPC Summerlin in Vegas. But nobody, we've said this before, he said nobody makes the perfect ball for every golfer.
No.
It's impossible, right? So are we going to see more of this? Are we going to see more of, I mean, Ben Griffin, Mizuno player, he
Max
plays
Fly
Max Fly.
golf ball. Yeah, I mean it's I think I don't know how much more we're really going to see because again, these brands want to lock guys up into the golf ball deal, and so for example, if you have a tailor-made deal, they're going to push you very heavily to be in a tailor-made golf ball.
Sure.
Obviously, one very well-known exception to that rule right now, but I'm sure that they
Scotty
would love
Scheffler,
to
number
see
one player in the
Scotty
world.
Scheffler playing a TP5, right? But
Mm-hmm.
so it is going to be these one-offs for the most part. Again, Scheffler being the outlier, it's not going to be the big name guys. Those are the guys that are going to get tied up in ball contracts
Right.
because they are readily available. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Um, it's
It's
always
just
something to
interesting,
keep an
right?
eye on,
Because
right? Because there is so little unpaid play of a golf ball on tour. So when you do see somebody win in a non-contract situation, it definitely gets your attention.
yeah, I think even more interesting will be so obviously Mr. McCarty's going to have some fantastic status now for the foreseeable future. Does he change anything? Right? You've seen careers go awry where guys, get to a point and then make an equipment change for money reasons typically. But I'll be really interested to see. I don't see him changing, moving away from Ping at all, obviously, and really he just put in the new Tour S irons, which again are new this year. So I don't see him switching up those type of things. The ball is a huge deal, and if he's comfortable with the TP5 and it does exactly what he wants it to do, you don't switch that.
Yeah.
You don't switch it. But for 70% of the PGA Tour, that was roughly the number that played Titleist golf ball, I believe, in this last year. So roughly 7 out of 10 golfers on the
Is it? I don't think
tour.
is it six out of 10, 7 out. It's yeah. It's I mean, call it plus or minus 60+%. I would say.
I'm going to say 70%. I'm going to
Yeah,
guess 70% over the last year.
it is an astronomical number.
It's a tremendous number. So when Titleist does this, switching gears, when Titleist does this and they come out with a new ball, and we've seen this, right? They're doing the tour seeding process. This isn't a prototype. They're not like, ooh, hey, we're testing a new ball that's in development to come out for next year. What can we say about this ball?
I think we're allowed to confirm its existence.
Okay.
I think that's probably uh, about it.
Okay.
I can confirm that it's white. The
Mm-hmm.
ones we've seen.
Uh-huh. True.
Generally appears to be round,
Mm-hmm.
and the rest I think is super top secret at this point.
Yeah, like we'll talk about this too because now we've seen other stuff pop up on USGA conforming list, some Cobra gear, some Wilson gear, Cleveland wedges, bunch of stuff, and it's like, does it make sense to not be able to talk about this stuff for 3 months, 4 months? Like, if players
It's
are out there and they're using it, right? They know what's new and different about it. In point of fact, a lot of us know what's new and different about it or have had exposure to more than we can say about it. Why not just tell people about it?
a well coordinated effort, man. 25th anniversary. You got to build. You got to build anticipation, excitement, etc. Plus, what's the rush, man? What's the rush? The
I
the
don't know.
current Pro V1, Pro V1X, they still work pretty well. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's always
you know,
right. It's always that challenge of like, hey, you got a new generation. That stuff's coming out. Like you said, prime the pump, get people excited. But oh wait, case in point, there's still current model stuff that we wouldn't mind selling, right? Across the
well,
board, right? This isn't
and there
Titlest. This
is
is everybody.
there
You
is
know,
a there's an element of two, right? When by the time the ball hits retail, you want as many of your staffers as you can get comfortable with it playing the ball. And right now, you're not going to have 70 Pro V1X 2025 models in play.
well, in
It's going
point of
to take
fact,
some
you're not going
time.
to have. There's a really good chance, right, between now and you're not going to have marquee players playing mini events at all. Period. So it is, I mean, as much as I'd love to say Zach Blair moves the needle, uh, Zach Blair doesn't move the needle. So
Yeah,
the fact that
what is the next tour event of consequence?
I mean, the Masters for most of the world. I mean, that's the next one most people will listen to or pay attention to. For me, it's maybe the father son deal. I love watching that one. You got Tiger's Hero Challenge, right? You got some of these silly season off season events, blah blah blah. But for casual golf fans, for the golfing world, it's the Masters. It's football season now.
Yeah,
And that's going to dominate through beginning of February. You got basketball, you got March Madness, we got all this stuff. You got MLB playoffs now,
I mean
beginning
Players
hockey
Championship,
season,
right? That's ahead
NBA
of the Masters now, right?
starts. It's like, fast forward to April. You know. Anyway, so that's that. Let's talk about this. So we did. We're going to get back to equipment, but test came out a week or so ago. This was our wedge test. This the Cleveland wedges are making me think of this. We did a wedge test.
We did.
Run me through the results really quickly, and then I have some questions for you specifically on the wedge test that I think might help golfers.
Yeah, so we'll run down top three real quick. Number three, Titleist / Vokey SM10. It's weird,
Mm-hmm.
right? Every year, it creeps a little higher up, even in our testing. We think there's some reasons why for that, but interesting. And you would expect Vokey to be near the top as kind of the most played wedge just about anywhere by any metric.
Yeah, you would hope
Um,
so.
Number two, TaylorMade Milled Grind 4. Not any kind of surprise because the MG series, I mean, won what, 3 times in a row? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
At least
At
twice in a
least
row.
back to
I
back.
think
I mean,
three
it's
times.
been, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just really good. And maybe, when you talk about overlooked products in the marketplace, it's hard to make an argument that there are certainly few that are more overlooked than the TaylorMade wedge. It's been really good for quite a while,
Mm-hmm.
and I just don't think that when you're looking for a wedge, TaylorMade probably isn't top of mind. But
Why not? Like what? I
yeah,
mean, like again, you look at the top three. So there's nothing in there that tells me, hey, if I'm a fan of Vokey, right? Because again, Vokey's dominated at retail. It's dominated on the tour for a good period of time, and it's like I remember talking to the TaylorMade and maybe it was Callaway ball guys about this too. But the whole idea was like, hey, if you're going to go up against somebody that's dominating the market, you can't be just as good because people aren't going to switch like, hey, come to our restaurant. It's just as good as the restaurant you
It's just
prefer.
as good for the same price, and it's roughly the same distance from your house, and
Right. But we'd love to have you.
yeah.
It has to be somehow better. So when I look at these results, if I'm a Vokey loyalist, is there anything in these results that say, hey, the Ping restaurant is better, the TaylorMade restaurant is better, they're
Well, we've
ranked higher?
yeah. So number one, right? We should probably mention that the Ping S159. Talked about Ping for years, just doing a really good job with the moisture management and maintaining launch and spin in wet conditions. Better than just about anything in the market, better than anything in the market. And over the
Mhm.
years, we've seen competitors slowly get better. Again, TaylorMade does a good job with moisture management. Mizuno does a good job with moisture management. Vokey hasn't talked about it much, but we've seen it every year. Just continues to get better at moisture management. So, if I look at kind of what's changed for Ping, is kind of gone beyond that story. Now they have a complete catalog of grinds, kind of reshaped the wedges a little bit. I feel like put more effort into it,
Mhm.
and in a matter of speaking, I think so. I don't want to say that they care more than they have, because I think Ping's always cared about wedges, but I think sort of mastering moisture management, if you will, has allowed them to start to go down different roads with it, and it's
Yeah, I
paying
don't think
off. We
it's
saw
a
these
caring issue. I think it's like resource allocation, right? An objective where it's like, hey, we can only focus on so many things at any given time, right? And so it's like, hey, if we really focus on, I mean, there was a time that Ping did not focus on the sound or acoustics and feel of a driver. They said, hey, we're going to focus on these things, and that wasn't a priority. Okay, those things have shifted, right? With the wedges, I would say they didn't always focus on shaping. I mean, maybe not to the degree that I would have liked to have seen them focus on shaping or availability of grinds, right?
full
Being able
grind
to
count,
really
right? So
dial people in, consumers, not through their works program, like tour van type program stuff, but I'm just saying consumer facing, go in the store, get fit. That had not been an emphasis. And now I think really going back to last year, they said, okay, if we want to compete with Vokey, if we want to compete and see that, then we've got to emulate some of those things and do some of the things that Titleist does really, really well, but do them in kind of a Ping-ish sort of way, which I think they're doing now.
yeah, and I was like TaylorMade, similar story. Although again, I'd say TaylorMade has probably been a little bit better for a little bit longer. But I mean, part of that is just kind of company identity. I touched on it in the ball piece I wrote,
Mm-hmm.
last month. This idea of, for a long time, TaylorMade was a metalwoods company first,
Right.
then the irons, metalwoods irons, and then kind of everything else if there was time to worry about it. And it was not a priority. Like the number one driver in golf, that was the priority. That's what commanded
Right.
the resources. And now it's
Mm-hmm.
much more balanced as an equipment company. So, I think consumers are slowly catching on to that.
That makes me think of a question. So I'm looking at the new Cleveland wedges, and they look cleaner. We can't, again, we don't know a
Yeah.
whole lot about them other than,
No,
yeah, it
very
looks
very
like
much like the Titleist golf balls, right? Sort of this um, tour launch
tour
prototype
seating,
seating. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we
right?
we
Get
we,
some
we
buzz
know the
going. We're not
language.
gonna
Yeah, exactly.
We're not going to hide the pictures. We're not going to get mad if people talk about them. In fact, we want people to start talking about them. We'll see them, obviously they're on the USGA conforming list, all that kind of stuff. And so, great, we're going to get them out there. We're going to do all this stuff. They're there. And what this made me think about was like, you look at the pictures, it's clear they're doing a little bit of a nostalgia play, right? A little throwback. I love the fact that it looks cleaner. For me, they had gotten really too busy, too many words, too much verbiage on the
Yeah,
back.
too into kind of that game, even if it wasn't the game improvement look, kind of that or form factor, but kind of that cosmetic of like, let's just zip core, whatever we can stamp and throw on this, we're gonna.
Yeah, and
So this is
I'm
just
a
a
less
cleaner.
is more guy anyway with those type of clubs, so that's a personal thing. But going back, you can kind of see that older Cleveland script, like remember the old like 588 like tour action
Mm-hmm. Yep.
wedges. I don't know why I just really associate those with VJ Singh, um, like in my head. But what it got me thinking about was this: is like there was a time when it was Vokey in Cleveland, right? Like 1 and 2, 1 and 2, and I wonder how much part of that was like you're saying the identity of a company or brand. Like when people thought of TaylorMade, they didn't think about wedges, but with Cleveland at that time, Vokey now, is it because they've associated it with a specific person and not deviated from that that's allowed them to create an identity outside of the actual brand? So when I think it's not Titleist, it's Vokey.
Yep.
And as much as it's Cleveland Strixon, but it was like Roger Cleveland.
Yeah, you do feel like the Metalwoods, this company, and Cleveland's still making stuff. The name still appears on some Metalwoods and irons, but you really feel like it has transformed, and now it's more Shrixon than Cleveland. Wedges
Yeah.
being the exception, right? They've committed to the Cleveland brand. There's no Shrixon wedges in the marketplace, at least not here in the U.S. So it is
Right.
recognizable, but that's a double-edged sword too, because I think I think it's fair to say that they've faded, over where they were in the wedge category over the last several years, and so I think
Mm-hmm.
maybe this is an attempt to get back to where they were.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to be really curious to see how extensive the grind catalog is, because that's something Cleveland has never really kind of done
No, they were kind of
at
always
the
one. Remember
scale.
the one
Yeah,
dot, two dot, three
yeah,
dot. It was just
low,
like
mid,
low,
high,
mid, high.
right? And I think when you look at Vokey, when you look at Callaway, when you look at Ping now, right?
Look at
It's
Ping.
not
Yeah.
just low, mid, high. It's understanding that you've got to have variety in there within each of those bounce and grind combinations. So cleaner
Mm-hmm.
looking. Whether or not it's a full catalog, whether or not they want it to be, I don't know. It'll be interesting. And
Yeah.
that's where I'm at. I'm intrigued, but not excited. I'm like, okay, show me. What do we got?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just wonder if that's part of. I mean, and like I said, I think that's been good for TaylorMade to stick with milled grind as its thing, right? It's like consistency, improve on da 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 da. I just wonder if that's been helpful to Titleist. Like if they were Titleist wedges, would that get lost in there? Like Vokey feels like it's separate yet still connected. You make the same argument for Scotty Cameron, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's Titleist, but it's Scotty Cameron. And so people get into that kind of identity around, like, I wonder if that's part of the issue with some other inline OEM putters where it's like, okay, I don't know. Maybe
Shall
I'm just,
see.
people will tell me. They'll let me know. Anyway, let's talk about this for a second.
Okay.
Other new stuff that's out there.
Yeah.
What'd you see? What's piquing your interest?
I think if I had to narrow it down to just one thing, was that one I plucked off the USGA list this morning? I mean, sure, Cobra. We'll talk about Cobra, and we'll talk about Wilson too. But how about this Wow Company Limited Bang?
Right?
Check it out. Yeah, it looks like a JDM driver with really bad aerodynamic properties and three weights that we'll never see. But anyway, no, more seriously, three new drivers from Cobra on the USGA list, though it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
two, because what we're seeing right now are two versions of a DS Adapt LS. I'm going to go
Okay.
out on a limb and guess that DS is dark speed.
Okay. Because obviously we had Dark Speed was the name of it last year.
Yeah.
They
So,
kept the DS moniker in there and the Adapt. So it says DS Adapt on it. So
yeah.
it's like a DS, some word other than version 2.
Yeah, so we got a DS Adapt LS and an X on the list right now. Three
Mm-hmm.
weight system continues on the LS, which I really like. I'm glad they're sticking with that. Um, Old school Flyzy plus flip weight system on the X.
Yep.
Love that too. So
Yep.
um, we'll see. And I'm wagering they'll continue an aerodynamic story because Cobra's been deep, deep in the aerodynamic weeds trying to squeeze every last ounce of speed they can.
Mhm.
The thing that stands out to me on these, if you look at the hosel here, kind
Yeah,
of
there's
right
a
where
QR code. You pointed
there's
this out.
a
There's a.
QR code. I'm wondering. I
Can
am
you
wondering.
scan it?
Let's
Are
see.
you going to try
Oh
to
no,
scan it
that
right
would be
now?
something. My God, that actually
Yeah, see
worked.
if that
Cobra
works.
would
Again,
just.
what we're talking about here is the USGA conforming this, obviously, for any company to have any piece of equipment in play. It has to be conforming. It has to go through a process where the ruling bodies, again, USGA, has to say, yep, this passes all of our tests. It's good to go. And so part of that is making that information public so people can look and guess and see. And it's like, okay, so that's where we're pulling this from. That's where everybody pulls this stuff from. We can
I would.
reasonably expect
Could
that
you
once
imagine? It does not appear like just on the USGA photos. It's obscured just enough where it doesn't
just
look
enough
like
that
you
you
can
can't
scan
scan
it.
it
Man, that would be. Could you imagine if information, embargo information, got blown over a QR code
because of a
in a
QR code.
USGA photo?
That'd be something. Anyway, what? So
Ooh,
I mean,
somebody would be pissed off.
somebody would not be happy. We'd get a phone call from somebody. But
Mm,
so just
let us know.
looking at it, right? It says DS adapt. So to me, that says okay, it's a modification. They're going to stick with kind of the dark speed mentality, I guess, if you will, which, like you said, was heavy on arrow, where Cobra's leaned into arrow quite a bit before. Um, I'll be interested to figure out, kind of learn more about what else they changed. But the thing that I noticed, the biggest kind of looks to be a different adapter. This is a QR code, and you pointed out something in the article that says like FF33 or something.
Yep.
Any guesses on what that might be?
I wouldn't want to speculate at this time.
Yeah, fair enough.
I
Fair
mean,
enough.
something different's going on there, obviously.
Yeah,
And at one point, you're a slightly better picture you'll be able to scan and find out, I think. So,
yeah,
um, anywho.
yep.
And it is interesting. Like I said, 3 models, really 2 models, but I don't think that's going to be the end of it by any stretch. Like Cobra's done
Usually isn't. I
really,
mean,
yeah.
if we looked
Cobra's
at the
done really
last,
well with the max models at retail by Cobra standards anyway. And
yeah, if we
that's
looked at the last 50 times something like this happens, right? You get the embargoed information, you do all that. A lot of times it's, we got to get stuff on there that a guy or gal is going to put into play on
yeah.
tour. More often than not, there's an additional model or two or something that ends up in retail. So we'll see, but it's at least a sneak peek
Mm-hmm.
at that, right? So
And and also on the list recently, I can't say for sure it was this week because we didn't check last week. So that could be the case with the Cobras too, full disclosure. But first, we've kind of seen him also a new Wilson Dynapower Max driver. Um, and again, here it's tough. USGA photos, not 360 degrees, but
right,
visible back weight labeled neutral, which certainly, I'm wondering, right, whenever you see Max now, you're like, 10K.
right,
No indication of 10K, but assume high MOI, maybe 10K, maybe just shy. It's not going to be low MOI, that's for sure.
right.
Back weight labeled neutral, which suggests there are other weight positions because
Yeah.
right,
Why label
if
it
it's a
neutral
fixed
unless
weight,
there's
yeah, it's,
right,
uh,
right.
is what it is. So, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, and if to be fair, it was not that long
wow,
ago that
bang.
I don't know any serious golfers that really took Wilson Metalwood seriously. Um, we've seen massive improvement in kind of generation over generation when we were talking about companies as kind of like stocks, right? Like, would you be buying the stock or selling the stock based on where you think it might be headed? I'm cautiously optimistic on Wilson Metalwoods. They've hired some interesting people. There some of the rumblings internally. Think think I would be buying some Wilson Metalwood stock right now if I had to. If I had the choice, I mean.
I mean, it does appear that they're attempting to, I say, get serious again with better players, right? Because they kind of for a period of time, fell into what I will call the Cleveland model of metalwoods, where all right,
Mm-hmm.
they're kind of for slower swing speed guys who don't want to pay full TaylorMade or Titleist pricing, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Not for anybody with any kind of speed or something like that. Stock
Yep.
shafts not really
Yep.
even in the realm of good kind of thing. So it'll be
Right.
interesting to see where it goes. But yeah, like you said, we've kind of seen some things from where they were a few years ago that are at least
Yeah.
trending in the right direction. Whether or not,
Yeah.
I
For
think they're
sure.
a long way from that next tier, but
But we shall see. All right. Finish up with two industry kind of questions. Question number one for you. Give me the inside skinny on what's going on with Foresight, Unicore.
yeah,
Is Bushnell wrapped into this stuff? Like,
yes, this
what the
is.
hell is going on?
Yeah, so this is couple of Foresight related notes, right? Foresight, the launch monitor company behind GC4 and also the Bushnell GC3 and or excuse me, Bushnell Launch Pro, which is also the Foresight GC3, depending on the licensing model you choose, but same
There
hardware.
you
It's all
go.
Foresight hardware. But anyway, so yeah, on September 30th, so right about before we went off. Foresight and Unicore agreed on a license. So basically, Unicore agreed to license Foresight patents for portable launch monitors. And kind of there's some chatter, right, that there was some legal action taken uh, by Foresight over infringement of its patents, and as I kind of understand it and heard
Otherwise, why would Unicore be
right.
paying to
Yeah, it's
license
like, hey,
to use a
yeah,
patent
we've
that
agreed
maybe?
to
Yeah,
pay
I
you
mean,
just because. Yeah, I mean, so obviously, this agreement was probably not without some arm twisting behind the scenes. But
it wasn't
there was,
voluntary.
yeah, there was some, as I've heard it, and I can't really get into the details, unfortunately, but it was pretty egregious and to the level of how obvious it was what they were doing.
Right.
So
So
anyway,
would this
right, new
be? Let
start.
me
They
give you
have.
an analogy, Tony, and you tell me how far off I am on this. So you and I are in the same calculus class in high school. Um, I copy 30% of your homework, turn it in. The teacher's like, "Hey, Chris, this looks a lot like Tony's work." I say, "Oh no, I'm sorry. I just licensed it from him, that 30%, and I paid him a fee to do so. We're all good.
That's
We're good."
it's
Is
not
that? Am
entirely
I
far
close? Is
off. Yeah, it's not
that pretty
entirely
decent?
far off. Welcome to golf, right? This kind of thing happens way more often than you'd think. So,
Yeah.
um, Unicore and Foresight settled up on a licensing agreement around portable launch monitor technology. So,
Okay.
take that for what you will. But then,
But
um,
wait, there's more.
on October 7th, it was announced that Foresight's parent company,
Okay.
Vista Outdoor, was basically dividing itself in half, so chopping itself up into two pieces and selling those pieces to two separate companies. So the Revelist business unit, which includes Foresight, Bushnell Golf, regular Bushnell, among others, has been sold to Strategic Value Partners. So, basically private
Strategic.
equity,
That sounds
very
like a
private equity
like
ish. Yeah.
VC kind of stuff or private
Mm,
equity kind of stuff, maybe.
Yeah, $1.1 billion.
$1 billion.
Yeah,
Okay, so this is Bushnell, basically it's called Bushnell Foresight stuff lumped
Bushnell.
together
Yeah, I
over
mean, the
here.
full list. Here you go: Bell, Bushnell, Bushnell Golf, Camelback, Foresight Sports, Fox Racing, Giro or Gyro, I don't know, Sims, Camp Chef, Blackhawk, Stone Glacier, Primos, Blackburn, and Quiet Cat. So
Okay,
I don't know what most of those are. But
doesn't
it's
matter.
basically the sporting goods unit of
Okay,
Revelist.
so that goes one way, and then what went to the other company? Doesn't
Um,
matter.
the Kinetic Group, which is basically ammunition. So
Okay,
there you go, and it's sold for
so
twice as much, which kind of tells you maybe a little bit something about the world today. I don't know.
yeah, well, stay tuned. All right, let's finish up with this. They announced Ryder. I know we're a year out from this still. We got Bethpage coming up next year. Ryder Cup, you're talking about rowdy, right? And we're talking about people getting there, massive home field advantage for the U.S., right? You want this to be just locked and loaded with the absolute most respectful, yet passionate, largely inebriated fans that we can get.
Well played, sir. Well
Played,
played.
sir. $750 for a ticket. This is like the Thursday on
Well,
part, not the practice rounds, whatever.
Friday, Saturday. So Thursday, right? If I have it right, Thursday's like practice round. Yeah, here we go. Thursday, practice day, junior Ryder Cup exhibition, celebrity matches, and opening ceremony. That ticket can be had for just the low price of $423.64.
Okay, so you're north of 400 there. You're 750 to get into the event that you really want to see, right?
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Let's come on, Chris. Let's be fair. 749.51.
Right.
So
Right.
not 750. I think we just need to be precise here because
Good point. So
otherwise it's obscene.
all right. So otherwise it's obscene. So if I gave you a voucher and you had to use it, it's going to blow up in an hour. You got to go one way or another. Are you going to get one ticket to the Ryder Cup for one day or one round at Pebble Beach?
I'll play Pebble. Yeah.
Okay.
For sure. I'd rather play golf than watch golf. That's just me, especially at some place like Pebble. I haven't played Pebble, so that sounds way better. I mean, I haven't played Bethpage either, and I'm certainly not going to feel good standing there watching other people play it. Okay. But yeah, this is who's buying these?
I bet they'll sell. I mean,
the logic is always whatever the market will bear, and somebody's figured out. And it's going to be a lot of corporate guys coming in.
That's what I worry about. Is does this
end right? Like it's
every day?
There is a school of thought knowing that Bethpage, Long Island, that gets rowdy. I mean, those our friends at Pete's Golf, big time troublemakers, right? So
this we know to be true.
So I mean, it gets rowdy in this
on the part of the PGA.
It does feel like
to keep the riffraff out. Just charge more.
We do not want the peasants observing our marquee event and consuming alcohol and not maintaining proper golf clapping etiquette and whatnot.
It kind of feels that way. Like, I mean, some people, if you have a pizza delivery vehicle in like looking car in your neighborhood.
Pizza delivery looking car in your,
that's just a nice way of saying.
That's right. They don't want any pizza delivery looking cars in the parking lot. I think is. Yeah, I mean, this is just like, suck it, peasants.
Suck it, poors. Yeah, all right, on that note, let us know what you think about all of these topics. We're around. We'll be around.
I think that sucks.
Next week, we're actually headed out to Carlsbad. Can't tell you too much more than that right now. Wish we could, but we will as soon as we can. And until then, we out.